Someone might think, how do you maintain those habits? How are you so disciplined with this? There isn't discipline because there's a high level of enjoyment.
I would like people to be fired up and excited about the gym the same way that I am. And the only way that's going to happen is for them to find that they like. Find the things interesting to you, and it's going to be easier to repeat them.
Sometimes you might take a challenge, whether it's lifting something or a type of cardiovascular session. You might go into it thinking, I don't know how this is going to go. Makes you a little bit nervous. If you end up achieving, boom, you know, like, wow, okay, I'm making some progress here.
So how would Mark Bell change the gym?
Yeah, if I had it my way to expose people to as much of the cool stuff that I've been exposed to over the years, yeah, I would have to build the gym out a little differently than what you see at some of the, 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness, some of those places. Although some of those places have changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Some 24-hour fitness gyms nowadays look a little bit like a collegiate style gym. Where they have more options and stuff. But I just think the gym is boring. I think, unfortunately, the gym isn't always boring, and it's not boring for everybody. I personally think that the gym can be boring, and some of the things associated with the gym can be boring.
Yeah. And I want to mention that's like, we were talking about this earlier, and I just find it so interesting because, like, the first time you started lifting weights, how old were you, man?
I was 12.
Yeah, and I was 13. And for someone like you to say the gym was boring, having had a gym that was free for people to come train at for so many years.
10 years.
10 years, right? Your life has been the gym. To say it's boring is like wild.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something can be kind of boring, but you can still love it, I do love aspects of the gym, of course. But I also can understand, and I can see and I can relate to a lot of people that feel like bodybuilding style stuff might be kind of boring or bland, just like a bodybuilding diet might be bland or boring to somebody.
Yeah.
And the same thing with strength training. Like, strength training takes a really long time. It takes a long time to acquire strength. When you're first starting out, it's actually really nice because you can acquire and gain strength quite a bit. But over time, if you're trying to do Olympic lifting, powerlifting, CrossFit, some of these different things that someone might be doing, it takes longer and longer and longer because of how good your skill set is. Now you need more and more weight, and you need more warm up and more time to do your 5x5. But yeah, when I think of strength and I think of hypertrophy, a lot of gyms are set up for you to train that way because those are like big reasons why you're in the gym. You're either in there to like gain a skill acquisition, gain strength, or build muscle mass. There's really not much else you can do in the gym, kind of despite what people think, but you can burn some calories, I guess.
Got some treadmills, ellipticals.
Yeah, you got some cardio stuff, right? And you can do a lot of that outside. You can run and so forth. So there's like maybe 3 things that you can kind of do in the gym, but the big ones, I think the reasons when people think of a gym, I don't think they necessarily think of just cardio equipment. I think they think of the weights, but I think strength training and some of the aspects of it can be boring. And I also think the same of bodybuilding.
Okay. So, I mean, I think one thing to remember, and I was talking to you guys earlier and I was asking Ryan, and Ryan's over here on the other side. And I was like, dude, are we jaded? Are we not thinking about this the right way? Because to say the gym is boring, it's like, when I was a kid, and I was going to the gym, I remember a high level of excitement going in and just lifting weights. But maybe after you do it for a while, it just kind of, even though it's effective, let's not take away from how effective strength training is and training with dumbbells, barbells, and machines. It can be pretty damn bland and repetitive. You know what I mean? I think that's, you always find a way to bring jiu-jitsu into the conversation, but that's one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu is kind of fun, because it's fairly novel. You roll with different people, you get different looks. It's like there's always something new you're doing. And when it comes to the gym, it can sometimes be, But Ryan mentioned something interesting. And it's actually even the case with the gym membership that I've had for quite a long time, because I haven't canceled it, but I don't really use my gym membership often, and I train and I do something every single day. But the thing is I got equipment at home. Most people get a gym membership and they don't go.
They're looking at your gym membership. They're like, this guy hasn't been here in 2.5 years. He's probably fat as shit.
Come in one day every 2 months. Right? So like, I think that speaks volumes, because like a majority of the population will get a membership and they won't go. And then at some point they'll cancel it. And when I used to work in a gym, I started in the gym in sales. And one of our goals was, we knew they probably weren't going to come. right? So we get them that membership, and then we do our best to, when they come in to try and cancel a few months later, just remind them of their goals to keep them coming back and get them not to cancel.
Like, I have this document here that you signed, and you said you wanted to lose 10 pounds of body fat.
Listen, I'm going to give you the next 30 days free. The next 30 days free. Come in once or twice. Just don't cancel, right? That's how you keep this thing going. And then boom, they come in once.
I probably shouldn't stop. I probably should. You think I should still go?
Still come.
I'm kind of confused though,
month,
about like what to do sometimes.
That's why we have this sector of machines. Just go one machine, and just do that back and forth. Maybe go hit up some dumbbells, walk on the treadmill, go right home. We also have those Zumba classes I know you said you liked.
Do you think I should take creatine? Creatine always works its way into the conversation every time. You're like, you're not even consistent with your workouts. What are you talking about over here?
Yo, oh man. But it's kind of boring. That's why a lot of people don't go.
When I think about the gym, the reasons why I have loved the gym over the years, going the opposite direction, has been the people.
Yeah.
The people and the community. You know, I was fortunate. I trained at Westside Barbell. And then I built my own gym, which was great. And then you look forward to the people. And even when I was younger and I would just go to like kind of a commercial gym, when I was a kid, it was the people. Cause like I was into powerlifting, and then you get kind of into a powerlifting like community. And so I would have never powerlifted because of how severely boring powerlifting can be. I wouldn't do it without having people, and literally the people are, they're not always like yelling for you, but a lot of times they are. A lot of times they're literally standing next to you, yelling, not at you, but yelling for you. Like, come on, you can do this, because the weights get to be challenging, and maybe there's a coach shouting some instruction and stuff like that. But it does end up being a communal thing. And what happens when you get into stuff like that, much like probably what happened with jujitsu, you're like, I'm in too deep to ever turn back.
Yes.
And with fitness and stuff like that, I think that's how we feel. I don't always necessarily feel that I'm like super disciplined with strength training or bodybuilding training or any of the training. I don't necessarily feel like I'm super disciplined when it comes to nutrition. It feels like this is just like part of what I do. I always enjoy everything that I do. So sometimes people are like, man, you ever get those times where you don't really feel like going to the gym? And I would say, yeah, to some degree. There's times where I'm like, I don't really. But if I also just think about it for 10 seconds in a more logical fashion, look, man, you know, if you were really sick for 3 weeks and you couldn't even get to the gym because you had some sort of, I don't know, you had something happen where you couldn't get to the gym for a couple weeks or something like that, or a handful of days even, I'd be so grateful to get back to the gym.
Yeah.
So even though I'm saying the gym is boring, there's a lot of exciting things that kind of go on in the gym. There's a lot of fun things that you can do in the gym. But the tetheredness that you may have to these protocols that you might hear on the internet about hypertrophy or about strength, that might pull you in a direction where you feel sort of bored with it. However, if you embrace a community and find other people to train with, then you're going to look forward to training with other people. If you ever talk to people in the military, we were just talking to a guy who used to jump out of airplanes and shit. You ever talk to people in the military, they're like, I only did it because the guy next to me was doing it. Like I did it for him, like, and even their PT, even their physical training and stuff that they do, like I would have never been able to run that fast, or never been able to get through that day if it wasn't for this guy. He was right next to me the whole time. And when you start to train with people, you're, maybe it's not always like competition all the time, but you're excited to see that other person make progress. They're excited to see you make progress. And then the only reason why you're showing up every day at 6 a.m. is because you know that they're going to be there. And you don't want to let that person down. My wife does that with swimming. And she has a group of people that she swims with. She's actually in Croatia right now with a whole group of people swimming because they have this community. And she doesn't, she might go a handful of days and miss and stuff. But she's like, I really got to get back there. I got to see so-and-so. I got to talk to so-and-so. And so when you start to build a community, that's what I would advise people to try to do or to get involved with, is a training partner, a community thing, a CrossFit style environment, a powerlifting, whatever these things might be, again, because they're sort of boring to do on your own.
Yeah, no. The interesting thing about bodybuilding. I mean, you can always find somebody to bodybuild with, right? Especially like when I was younger, I would have friends sometimes that we'd lift together, even though majority of my lifting sessions were on my own. But it ends up being kind of like a soul endeavor for most people, which is fine. You know, like if you choose for that to be a you versus you type deal, that's okay. And many people do it for decades in that fashion. But if you can find a way to whatever activity you like to do, figuring out a way that you can be involved with other people, I think it'll make it something that you really, it doesn't take you as much effort to do on that day. Because like, for example, sometimes with jujitsu, like I know I'm going to be seeing certain people there. It's easy to go. Right. And that's, it is in and of itself, an activity that you need a partner for.
Like Graham, for example, you'd be like, I'm just going to completely destroy and humiliate Graham again today.
I never like, no.
You're nice to Graham?
Of course. We rode yesterday. I was very nice.
I don't know. He usually says something different.
Yeah. But when it comes to the lifting thing, I think even one thing that can be pretty strong, because sometimes you're in a place or an area where you're like, you could find somebody, but it's maybe kind of hard. So finding people, you know, a lot of people get into Discord groups. A lot of people find online communities. If you could find something like that where people are doing the things you enjoy doing, that can even in and of itself bring a level of encouragement to you for what you're doing, because you can share it with that specific community, even though it's virtual. That's something that I would have never thought would actually be remotely effective. But seeing it these days, I'm like, wow, actually, people are keeping each other going. And it's fun seeing how somebody else is progressing. That'll make you want to try something out. It's pretty cool.
I think, you know, some of what I'm referring to as well is like just things are time intensive. You know, strength training, you know, trying to power lift or something like that can be time intensive. You could say that if you want to be like a pretty good power lifter, we got a minimum of like 3 or 4 days a week of working out. I'm sure you could figure it out to where you only worked out twice a week, but it'd probably be kind of hard. So 3 to 4, almost like 90-minute sessions. If you want to get pretty serious about powerlifting, is probably about what it's going to take you. Bodybuilding, you know, to acquire the muscle mass that you need for bodybuilding. Like if you're not just recreational bodybuilding, you're wanting to push it a little bit further. That's going to require probably something similar, probably, you know, 60 to 90 minutes, a couple times a week. There's people that kind of sell you on like shorter workouts and stuff. And again, I'm sure that you can do that. I'm sure there's many people that have accomplished, you know, hey, 45 minutes, a couple days a week. I know Efforting and some other people talk about those short workouts. So you're not like just destroying yourself every single day.
There's Mark, don't lose your train of thought. I want to send this to Ryan. You remember 3D MJ Godfather?
Yeah.
Okay. So he put up this post, and again, not everyone who's listening to this is like, I want to bodybuild, but I think it puts into perspective somebody who has been so dedicated to the craft of, and he's a natural bodybuilder. But I appreciate this post because it's 1986 to 2025. And if you kind of go through the post, like, yeah, you'll see from his first shows.
Oh, how cool.
Right?
Wow.
24 years old there. 29 years old. And if you're listening, we're kind of going through Jeff Albert's progression in bodybuilding.
These guys are great. This whole crew is awesome. It's 3D MJ, right?
He got his pro card in 2009, 16 years after he started competing.
You're right.
Right.
And this is like, you know, and Nsima, you mentioned this. Some people kind of like boring or they embrace it. And I think that...
It's not boring to him.
Right.
Right.
It's not even boring to us necessarily, but I can, I guess my point is I can understand how it can be like a turnoff, like strength, like training. It takes a lot of time. And maybe when you were a kid, you didn't really realize the time that it took you to get good at baseball. Maybe you didn't realize that how long it took you to get good at volleyball or the different sports or activities that you were involved in. You didn't even realize, you know, how you almost didn't even realize what was going on in the gym when you were training for football or wrestling or something like that. And you might think now like, oh yeah, I remember deadlifting 275 for some reps and stuff like that. I remember, you know, benching 225 for reps or whatever it was you did. And you have this like warped image in your brain that that's like where you started. but it's not where you started. You know, it takes, there's a time commitment to it. And if I was to set up a gym and be able to expose the world to it, I would want to give everyone an equal shot of doing something that they felt was cool. The only way that people are going to do stuff that they feel is cool is to be good at it or to at least be in line with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, so like, let's say for the last several years, I never stopped deadlifting. Let's just say I'm still deadlifting 700 pounds or something, right? So if I invite people in, I'm like, all right, we're going to get everybody to deadlift. It's going to be great. And I'm pulling 6 plates, you know, in between, showing people like, this is fun, you know?
Yeah.
And they're trying to pull like 3 plates or 2 plates and they're struggling, or they're like, oh my God, I think I twisted something. Like, I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
There's some people that might enjoy some of that, right? But the majority of people are going to be like, this sucks, you know? I don't, you know, this isn't fun for you to just like beat up on me, right? However, take a bunch of people into the gym, and even when I was at the height of my powerlifting, when I was my strongest, I could say, hey, let's all line up on an appropriate stone, and each person, you can pick up a stone, and if the stone feels super light, you know, bring it all the way up and get it to your shoulder. If the stone feels super light, see if you can press it over your head. If the stone's kind of heavy, just, you know, see if you can just get it off the ground, right?
Yeah.
And we line everybody up, and I'm, you know, 300 pounds or whatever. There could be the likelihood that there'll be someone that's 180 pounds that can pick up a stone heavier than me is really high, because now we even the playing field by changing what it is that we're doing.
Yes.
And if we start to implement, let's say a Metcon, say, all right, we're going to get a couple people together, we're going to do a Metcon. Well, now if I'm 300 pounds, the other guy's 185 is going to kick my ass in the Metcon, most likely, right? And so you just expose people to so many different modalities that it's almost impossible for people to be completely shut off to the exercises that you're showing them.
But specificity.
Specificity.
You're not going to get strong doing that.
Damn.
Oh, how are you gonna go lift a barbell or a stone and gain muscle? What are you going to do? Do a sled between? Like, what is that?
There are some good points there. You know, there's some decent points there. Like, I don't know if we have, you know, my beginnings are my beginnings, your beginnings are your beginnings. So we don't really have anything to say that you got strong and got in great shape traditionally. So did I. Like we did, right? So now we're kind of preaching against some of that, but I'm not preaching against it because it doesn't work.
And you're not even preaching against it.
No, I'm not against it.
You're not against it.
I'm still 100% for it.
Yes.
Still 100% for it. But I would like people to be fired up and excited about the gym the same way that I am. And the only way that's going to happen is for them to find shit that they like. So if I'm to think about my family members, like a couple of my uncles or something like that, if I was to show a couple of my uncles some of the stuff that we did today with the maces, they would love it. They'd be like, oh my God, this, and they would be like, man, I suck at this. But they would like it, and they would be able to immediately see, like, oh my God, I think this could help with some shoulder mobility. Oh, and this is kind of like a fitness routine. The thing that you're not going to understand when you start to do some of those movements, you do rope flow, you do maces, you do kettlebells, and you start to, not so much even those particular movements, but when you can figure out a way to play in a gym or play outside of the gym with gym type stuff, is when you lose track of time.
Yeah.
And where an hour goes by super quick. And when that starts to happen, that's so much easier to be consistent. As I've talked about many times on the show, I'm a huge believer in like finding stuff that interests you. Find the things that are interesting to you, and it's going to be easier to repeat them.
I was looking up like the percentage of the U.S. population that like trains in the gym, and I came across a number that said 15%. But I feel like that's really high. I don't know.
That's being generous, yeah.
Does that sound right?
Well, I've heard 5 before.
Yeah, I've heard 4% before. I feel like the percentage, but the thing is,
even 15, yeah.
15 is pretty high. I think, like, oddly enough, but that, even if it's, let's say it's 15, and I think that's being generous, it leaves, 85% of people who aren't physically active in that way, who aren't strength training. And that's why I just think, what is the way? I mean, obviously, showing and telling people how beneficial building muscle is and strengthening the body. But giving people more modalities of being able to build strength, being able to be strong. Because like, yes, we can say we've built our bodies with traditional lifting, and I have no problem with somebody saying that to me. But at the same time, there are so many ways you can pick an object off of the ground, a heavy object relative to you. There are a lot of implements for that. There's a lot of ways you can squat something. Doesn't have to be a barbell, but there are a lot of implements for that certain people might enjoy more. And there are a lot of ways for you to like work with weight. And I think one of a cool thing, and I'm not necessarily meaning this, but this is a mace, or like a mid-sized mace that we got from Sam White here. He's the owner of Berserker Bar. So he made me some custom maces.
I think it's insane. I love it.
Dude, these things look like freaking lightsabers. This is the super long one. I don't know if this is visible. This is a mid-sized one. And then I'm going to show you guys this one. This is a short one. And what you guys just heard is like steel shot. But the thing is like these implements are super fun. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's weight. So it's like I imagine a gym where there's a rack, there's a barbell. Like I have a barbell in my gym at home, but you have maybe some machines that people can work with easily, because some people, like let's say that it's hard for them to go and get a dumbbell and move around. So machines are great for people to have, because you can literally sit in the machine, load it up, and get a pump on specific tissues. Yep. So some machines are great. But then some implements like some stones, some sandbags are going to be really fun for certain people to work with. Because I took some training sandbags to my mom, and I just got a smaller one for her too. And then we started doing some like squats onto a chair. She naturally just like put the training sandbag right here. Let me put this on the ground. She grabbed the handles right here and she just started lifting it up. But it was a very natural thing for her to easily understand, to figure out what she could do with it. And it's like, she's 67, right? It was way easier for her to figure that out than a barbell, getting set up for a barbell. So it's one of those things where it's still picking up something from the ground. It's still getting something and squatting. It's still pressing something over the head. But it's an implement that some people can get the hang of, and some people might enjoy more than having to go pick up this metal barbell.
Right. And machines save time. You know, machines can be great. Like hypertrophy training does not have to necessarily be boring. You know, you don't have to necessarily, rest 2 minutes or a minute between each set and whatever it is. Even if you're resting a minute in between each set, it's not boring, because you're just trying to hang in there, because it starts to get really challenging. If you're training properly, I think it gets to be really difficult. But it is kind of nice to go from one machine to another, especially on days that you're feeling kind of wrecked. And you're just like, man, I did a lot of sandbags. I did a lot of this, a lot of that. What you'll usually find is that you might do a machine or two. And then once you do that, then you're warmed up, and then you're able to do a lot of other stuff. So even though, I was saying earlier that some of the stuff can be boring, it also can be made to be fun. You can change a little bit of your mindset on it. And I think if you do it less frequently, you might not find it as boring. So for example, if once a week or once every other week, you worked on your deadlift and you did, standard 5x5 or lower repetitions and higher sets with longer rest periods and stuff, you might find that to be fun. And maybe on the other days and a lot of the other training that you're doing 45-degree back raises, you're doing some sandbags, you're doing some stones, you're doing a lot of other things that will allow that lift to increase. Because sometimes people find motivation in having that lift itself increase. Yeah. And so that's where you can get into having some really cool goals, but it can be frustrating and it can be a long road if you're just always trying to deadlift that 405 and you're only just honed in on that. I kind of personally like having, even when I was powerlifting, I utilized a conjugate system where you would have a lot of variations of your training to bring that deadlift up. So for example, I might not do a regular deadlift for like 3 or 4 weeks. I might do good mornings. I might do particular squats, do things back and forth a little bit, and then deadlift. And then you'd go, oh shit, I feel like my deadlift's getting stronger by doing some of those other movements. Every once in a while, it wouldn't work that way. And you're like, oh, I think I might need to deadlift more often. Then you start to find kind of the sweet spot.
Gosh, let me ask you this. Like when it comes to something like deadlifts and barbell deadlifts, if you were to I guess, advise somebody on picking something off the ground, how would you have them maybe conjugate style it potentially? Or how would you have them organizing it, not on a weekly basis, but just thinking about how often they should touch a typical deadlift versus something like a sandbag deadlift or any other type of deadlift? Because I think some people, when it comes to deadlifting, they feel that I have to barbell deadlift. You know what I mean? But how do you look at that?
Man, there's a lot of different ways you can go. If you look at, the success that some of the people have that are super strong, that are online, they're deadlifting with pretty good frequency. Most people, though, can't handle deadlifting that often. No. It usually breaks you down too much. What I found to work best for most people was to like deadlift heavy, like once or twice a month, which sounds like
sounds crazy.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but I didn't say that you can't deadlift at all. So you can still deadlift for practice purposes, and you can do that every single week.
Yeah.
And in fact, you could probably do it even 2 or 3 times a week if you really, if you wanted to become a really great deadlifter. I would say deadlift often, deadlift 2-3 times a week, but maybe 1 time a week is literally with a plate and you're like a 500-pound deadlifter or a 400-pound deadlifter. Just again, for that technical side of things. With what I did at Westside Barbell is you would do like 8 sets of 1 or 8 sets of 2 reps. And what that did is it assured you that you got a lot of first reps, because that first rep and that main rep, when you're talking about maximal lifts, lifting the most amount of weight as possible, that first lift is the most important one. So when you do 8 or 10 sets of singles, or even 8 or 10 sets of doubles, what I would do in between every, if I was to do 2 reps, I would stop, stand up, restart, pull again. So that it was like a first rep again. But anyway, what you get out of that is you get many practices at that first repetition, just like you would in a competition. So I would have someone probably deadlift fairly often, but only deadlift heavy, maybe like once a month. And in the interim, I would have someone utilize exercises that are going to bring up that capacity for deadlifting, which would be anything with your lats, anything with your grip, anything with your core.
Anything posterior chain,
Anything posterior chain, yeah, building up that ass. Yeah. All that stuff will... it will help a lot more than what people may even think or even know. I do know that like when I started to, my deadlift, I always struggled with my deadlift. What's weird is that when I was natural and when I didn't use any gear and when I didn't use any gear, powerlifting gear and injecting stuff into my body, my deadlift was my best. I was like, I think around 200 pounds, I pulled like 630 or something.
Yo.
Yeah. Which is great for that body weight, right?
Yeah.
But then as I got, as big as I possibly could and all that kind of stuff, I did deadlift 766, but it was like, I'm in like a squat suit and I weigh like 300 pounds and all that stuff too. So, it's just, for me, the deadlift was always like a struggle, but what really helped it towards the end to help me go from, kind of high 6s and push into the 7s. And I was, hoping to kind of get into the 8s, but it was just training my stomach, just doing sit-ups and static sit-ups and more focus on, I did a little bit more focus on glute ham raises. And it wasn't even the glute ham raises that I was doing, I would do them static. And I would hold them
like isometric.
Yeah, like isometric. Oh. And I would try to push myself away from the machine a lot and like push myself out, like because my upper body's pretty heavy. I try to almost push myself out and then hold. And I would usually hold some weight and stuff too. So a lot of that stuff, helped me to build up a decent deadlift.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, over the years, I've learned a lot from guests that have come onto this podcast, and I've taken the time to learn many different movement practices. So, for example, if you wanted to learn rope flow, which is a practice I think is just beneficial for everyone, I have a free rope flow foundations course at school.com/thestrongerhuman. Now, the Stronger Human community actually has over 11,000 members, so it's a great community there, but you'll also be able to learn rope flow for free, along with many other things I teach in there, like kettlebell flow, kettlebell juggling, all that good stuff. So head over there. Along with that, if you're looking for where to get your equipment as far as ropes, maces and clubs, sandbags, all that good stuff, you can head over to the StrongerHuman.store. And on that site is where I have all of the different functional fitness equipment that I use to become a stronger human. So check those out. And let's get back to the episode. I think an interesting video for people to watch is Mitchell Hooper's video where he talks about strength standards. He recently posted it, I think maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, where at the point where this podcast is out, it's a while ago. But he was talking about like strength numbers and what's strong for like a certain body weight when it comes to squatting, when it comes to deadlifting, pressing, push pressing. And when he was talking about that, I found it really interesting because I just look at strength so differently nowadays. Like I don't really even think about strength in relation to the barbell, just because there are so many things that you can use and you can get stronger with that. I've grappled with people who can deadlift 700, 800 pounds and they didn't necessarily feel strong because that didn't transfer into the way they moved. And actually they're much stiffer because they were so physically strong with the barbell. So that's why,
because there was such a focus on mainly just that for many years.
Yeah, right. And it can. I look at it within a grappling context. For someone who is so deep down that rabbit hole, within grappling, you need to be able to disassociate in terms of different parts of your body. There needs to be able to be a rotation here and a lack of rotation here, or an opposite on certain sides of the body. And when you build the ability to be so stiff to move a barbell, it can actually hamper your ability to disassociate certain parts of your body. So even though that person is strong, they're not when they're fighting, right? So when I see a lot of these things, I guess I'm happy that I grapple, because it makes me realize, if that person were able to lift a heavy sandbag in that way and it were pretty easy, that is different than lifting a heavy barbell, right? And it brings me a level of confidence with, I guess, help encouraging other people to go towards the strength things that they're interested in, because it doesn't have to be a barbell for you to be strong. Because again, we've lifted sandbags, and that a 100 or 150 pound sandbag, even when you become experienced, still feels kind of heavy.
It's heavy.
Whereas a 150 pound barbell, bro, you can pick that up with one hand. A 150 pound barbell for someone who's even just kind of experienced doesn't feel that heavy.
Can do almost anything you want with them.
You really
do a lot of different exercises. Yeah.
But a 150 pound sandbag, it's it's different. So it's one of those things where when if you're making a home gym setting for yourself, or you're wanting to set things up with a few other people, I think you can have different stations. You can have a strength station that has a barbell or a sandbag or a few sandbags, training sandbags, etc. You could have a station that's more movement stuff, where you have a sled, a rope, where something you're moving through space. You could have some fucking rucksacks if you guys want to go take a walk or something and move through space and with weight or whatever. It's there are so many things you can do to gain strength that it's I don't know. That's why it can be so fun.
I agree 100%. And what you're alluding to is maybe the focus shouldn't even really be just to deadlift. Deadlifts are great. Deadlifts are cool. It's nice to have the goal. And if you have the goal, then it causes a cascade of disciplines underneath it for you to kind of check these boxes. And maybe we can say, hey, you know what? Most guys should probably do that until they get to a certain strength level, whatever that strength level is for a particular size person. But 3 or 4 plates, if you start to pull that, you start to squat that,
you're solid.
You checked off some pretty good boxes, and because someone could be tremendously strong and they could maybe deadlift 275. They could feel strong, right? They could feel really strong.
We were just talking about this with
and we could try to joke about that person in here, deadlifting, and we could be like, oh, it's funny. And then they just destroy
you the fuck out.
They just destroy you. They have tremendous amount of power, just, being able to generate power in a completely different way. I think this should be exciting to people, that like the revolution of fitness is like here. Like the movement of fitness is here. We're in a different spot. The guys that are big, jacked, and strong can't bully the other guys around as much anymore because we can see what some people can do with a sandbag.
Yeah.
And what some people can do with some of these other styles of lifting. And it's not just necessarily strongman. I know we mentioned sandbags a lot, but they're just simple to train with, and they allow for a lot of simplicity within your training. But there's a lot of different types of sandbags. There's a standard sandbag that you just grab from Freedom Strength, right? That's one of the ones that we use, that you just grab and you pick up and you toss or do all these different things with it. Then there's a training bag. And then some companies,
straps.
it has straps and stuff like that. Some companies make like a Husafelt stone type of thing. Yeah, that's like this kind of V taper thing, and you kind of carry it like a Zercher squat. So I think what I would love to see people do, two things. One is to take initiative and to buy some of your own stuff. And maybe you go in with a friend. Maybe you don't have a lot of room in your home. Maybe your friend's got more space in their garage or whatever it is. Or you have to get a storage unit or something like that and load some crap in there. But buy some stuff. Try some stuff at some gym somewhere to make sure you like it. Mm-hmm. If you like it enough, then buy it. Whether it be a kettlebell or a jump rope or sandbag or even, a dumbbell, barbell, whatever it might be. Buy some shit. The second thing I want to see people do is demand more from your gym. Gyms suck, and if you have a regular commercial gym, there's only so much they're going to be able to do at some of these places. But I would imagine, me being a business owner myself, if somebody came up to me and didn't say, "Hey, your gym sucks, bro." They came up and said, "Hey, you know what? I really love coming here, but I'd love to. Have you ever heard of these like sandbags and some of these other things? Maybe you bring one in. You show them. Say, I bought one, but I think a lot of other people, and you could maybe say, I got 2 or 3 other friends that I usually do it with at my house, but it would be cool if we could do them in here." Maybe and you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. You're sometimes going to get someone be open-minded. And other times, maybe it's a Planet Fitness, and I'm like, get out of here. We don't want any of that.
Can't grunt, breathe while you train.
But demand more from your gym and see if they can. They're not going to maybe want to buy, a mace or something because they're going to think, that something's going to go flying off the handle and somebody's going to get hit in the head and all these different things. But I think that people just casually like have this gym that they have a membership at that they don't even like know anything about. It's like, "Hey man, what do you think of your gym?" They're like, "What? Do you like it?" And they're like, man, I mean, yeah, it's a gym. And you're like, does it have sleds? Does it have sandbags? Does it have kettlebells? Does it have variation of barbells? Does it have a Smith machine? Does it have a leg press? Does it have a hack squat? Like, if it doesn't have some of the stuff that I'm rattling off right here, then you need to either find a different gym, make some suggestions to the manager or owner, or you might have to have multiple gym memberships. But the other side of that is just doing shit for yourself and committing to purchasing some of this stuff, because I think if you have it sitting there at your house, you're going to be more likely to use it.
100%. And that's, I think that, again, that's one of the reasons why we've talked about this in a prior episode, but fitness is so easy for us, right? Because someone might think like, oh, how do, like you even mentioning this in the gym, how do you maintain those habits? How are you so disciplined with this? And it's like, there isn't discipline because there's a high level of enjoyment in terms of the things that we're doing every single day. I don't have to rev myself up to go into my garage or go into my living room and do these things.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. I think some of that has to do with the way that you train, and you get like intense with your training. Like you train hard, and you'll lift heavy stuff, but your training usually starts kind of casual. Yeah. And your music is like represents that, right? Your music's chill. I've heard you listen to all kinds of different stuff depending on like what you're doing, right? Uh-huh. But I think that that's interesting because what you're asking your body to do, maybe if you started with something like real intense right off the bat, maybe you would feel like you needed an energy drink or something like that. But you don't work out that way.
No. Like I always start off with some type of movement to get things lubricated. So like Kelly Stret will tell people to use
Lubed up.
right? Like use some rope pull for movement, but it'll start with something there. And then I'll move into starting working with lighter weights, load things up, start working with heavier stuff. And I really like being able to transition between like lifting and moving with the heavy sandbag, whether it's taking the heavy sandbag, going down my driveway or across the street.
Oh, wow, across the street.
Across the street. Coming back up, then grabbing a rope, doing some of that stuff, then going to the cable machine, going back to that, doing some of that stuff, then going back to the sandbag. I like being able to transition between these implements rather than just sitting there with what used to training would be like is just sitting there on the deadlift or sitting there on the squat and then waiting for your next set to go do another hard set of squats. But being able to transition between this stuff, for me personally, makes the training feel better. But also I don't know, it just works better for me. Mm-hmm. And it's very enjoyable to do that. Because if I do that last set of something hard and I want to call it on that, I can go into some lighter swinging in terms of kettlebell work or doing some club work. And it's weight, but it's not something that it's not stressing me out that much. It's not like, I remember sessions in the past when I was just lifting where I'd be like, fuck, I have to do this again. Or I know there's a type of session I have on that day and it's like, oh God. It's like, I know it's about to be a really, really grueling session and I'm not going to feel great after it. But with the way strength training feels now, I always feel good after training strength because there are different modalities inside of it,
I love that perspective. So if people heard that, if you could have your training sessions don't always have to equal that you feel great. You don't have to like walk out of there and be like, hey, but you should walk out of there feeling pretty good. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're taxed, maybe you're like, whoa, like I pushed it pretty good. That was awesome. But you're not like, man, I don't know what I did to myself type thing. That changes everything that you need. That changes everything that you do leading up to your workout. I think for some people, their workout or their idea of training is like this intense thing that needs to be white knuckled.
Getting ready for war.
Yeah, they're getting ready. And I understand and I get it. And I like all that stuff. I did it for many years. I think you've done at least some of it when you were young, when you were bodybuilding, right? You probably had your pre-workouts and
Yep.
And all that stuff. And you probably, we're going to go work out with maybe a couple other people and you're doing your drop sets and you're a professional bodybuilder, which I think sometimes people forget, but that's amazing. And you became a professional bodybuilder at such a young age.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And so about like, it's not like you don't have intense workouts. You have intense workouts. You know what that's about. But every day that you're training, you're not redlining. Like I kind of just look at it like this for myself. I'm like, every day that I train, the effort's going to be there. I'm going to put in work. But it doesn't have to be a 9 or a 10. If it's just like a 7 and it's a 7 every day, I like to roll the 7s all the time because I know I can do it every day.
Yes.
I can do it every day forever, like literally every day. I don't even need a day off or whatever. I can do that every day. And what's the difference between like a 7 or a 10? Well, a 7 is like yesterday I was doing some floor presses and I was supersetting, doing some squats with the sandbag. Mm-hmm. And, as I'm doing the sets with the sandbag, it started to like accumulate. I started to go a little heavier. And the last set, I did a set of 30. And I'm like, that's it. Maybe the old me would have done maybe another set or two. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about like, that was good because the other sets burned and that one burned even worse.
Yeah.
I could barely stand up straight after I did that last set. And it felt like, I was like, yeah, that was enough. And then same thing with the bench press. I was doing sets of 8, just kept working up and up and up and up. And the last set, I hit like a weird set of 5 and then I racked it because it just was like, wasn't going great. I rest a little bit, just like waited like 30 seconds and finished out the other 3 reps. And that's like just after training, like that was what I could do. So someone could say, okay, well, that was like a 9 or a 10. But overall, the workout's like a 7. I try to keep them there every day because the other reason why I do it is I think it will knock down your motivation. if you put in a 10 or you go way over, you hit an 11 with your training, you know, you're like, oh man, that was sick. We did leg press and we did hack squat and then we did lunges. And then we finished off with like 100 step ups or something. You're like, oh, that's holy crap. That sounds like an amazing leg day. Mm-hmm. But then tomorrow you're like, I don't feel like training today.
Right?
And you're like, well, of course you don't. You just, you blew your wad.
Exactly.
All over the place.
All right. So now I want to ask you this. And I think actually, you know, if you guys don't know who Gunnar Peterson is, just go to his profile. That dude has all the toys.
He's always having fun.
He's always having fun. He's a celebrity trainer. I think he has a podcast now with, what's her name? Jen Widerstrom. Yeah. Jen, Gunnar, and another guy have a podcast together, which is quite interesting. But don't even do it, Mark. Don't do it, Mark.
I won't.
Okay. You have 16 more years in the gym than me. And I want to know, what would you wish every gym has? I know we talked about a lot of stuff on this show now, but when you're thinking of a gym or you're thinking of what somebody on their own has, what are some things you're just like, have this? Just try to see if you can have this.
Oh, just like equipment, maybe.
Equipment-wise. Like things that you just think would be great to have.
I think you can get along pretty well with a couple med balls. And the medicine balls, I think it's good to have them be a little lighter than maybe you think.
Okay.
Like the head, like I would get a 6 and like a 10. And that would be pretty damn good weight. You'd be surprised at all the different stuff you can do.
You can yeet the hell out of those too.
Right. And the amount of different things you can do with medicine balls is just like unlimited. I mean, you could even take one ball and go on a walk with it and then just toss it periodically here and there.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of stuff. Obviously, you're not going to do that like in a downtown area, right? But you get to do it like in a field or park or something like that. Mm-hmm. So med ball would be one of the first places I would start. I think that
they also double as a soft tissue tool.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think a kettlebell is just, there's just so much utility in a kettlebell. Dumbbells, you know, some people say that like you can do anything, you know, that you can do with a kettlebell, you can almost do with a dumbbell, and that's fine. I would just say pick your preference, you know, whatever one you'd like. But and I'd even just say, like, as far as like weight goes, you know, I would say, you know, if you're more beginner, maybe you get something that's 15. If you're a little stronger, get something that's more like 25, 30. But I don't think you need like a lot of variety. I don't think you need, you know, gyms have set after set after set of dumbbells. You don't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just one that's like 15 and one that's like 25.
And if you really did want dumbbells, you can always get yourself like some of those adjustable ones.
Right.
They have adjustable dumbbells that go up to like 80 pounds these days.
There's a lot of different things you can get. You can get ones that you can change the weights on the side, and like there's all kinds of stuff. I do think that a machine, I think sometimes can be encouraging, like a cardio piece or something like that. So like an Echo bike or a, you know, one of those Rogue Fitness, whatever, Airdyne type things. I think stuff like that can be pretty useful, but that starts to be a little hefty in price. I think you're looking at, you know, anywhere from $500 like $700, kind of as a starting range.
You could Facebook Marketplace something decent for maybe $300, $350, right, for one of those bikes, but it's going to be a Facebook Marketplace one, you know. So, and
then you got like, I don't know, you have all these like ancillary things that are like barely equipment, but like jump rope, a heavy bag is incredible. Something that you can punch.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm really happy you mentioned that. I mean, I have one too. You have one. But the ability to just go in and if you learn some preliminary striking, then you can go whack the fuck out of that thing. You know what I mean? It's so fun to punch and kick something.
I worked out with Ron Penna recently.
Okay.
And this guy, he is the king of talking shit. Because he doesn't care, you know?
Can you tell people who Ron Penna is?
Yeah, Ron Penna, he sold Quest Nutrition years ago for $1 billion. And he owns Legendary Foods now. And just a remarkable guy. He's just one of the more fascinating people I've ever met in my life. everybody will know who he is probably in about a year because he's writing a book. And when that book drops, I think it's going to be game over.
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah. It's like $1 million Side Hustle, I think is the name of the book.
Ron, get us an advance copy.
Yeah. Everybody wants to know how to get that side hustle going. But anyway, he's got a great gym, beautiful home and everything like that too. And I'm in his gym, and I start hitting this like punching bag thing that he has. He's got like one of those face things, you can punch. Bob, I think it's called. Bob. And so I'm like punching it, messing around with it, and he just goes, "Interesting, you chose to punch it." And I was like, all right, well, just, show me some kicks or whatever, because I knew he wanted to, he's been doing martial arts forever.
Yeah.
And so then he just he goes into full Ron mode and just beats the shit out of this thing with these like awesome kicks and stuff. And he moves the way that you would think he'd move. He's like moving like Jean-Claude Van Damme and stuff.
You can just hop into the splits too.
Yeah. I was
Ron's
like
that kind of guy.
Yeah. Just out of nowhere. He's like 54 or something. Looks like he's 34. Mm-hmm. He's just an incredible guy. But yeah, and I was like, you know what? That actually just, I'll say this. If you work on punching and kicking, you covered a lot of ground. You have covered, we're talking about all this stuff on the show about trying to walk with your feet straight. And we're talking about rope flow. And we're talking about if you punch and kick, a bag,
yeah,
or maybe kick a soccer ball here and there. And
kicking is the throwing of the lower body.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then realizing that like I've never really thrown much of any kicks in my entire life. So it's like, where do I start? I was doing a couple like just, kind of like front kicks, but a side kick for me to kind of loop that thing around. It's like, holy, we did with Alul. Is that how you say that? I'll let you handle his name. But yeah, when we had him here, he was showing you like, he gets his leg way up and then he pauses and then he holds and he just flicks the foot out. It's like, holy shit.
We're talking about Olongolani, guys, the martial artist. Yeah.
But when you get your body in that position, you don't even realize, okay, it's easy to focus on the foot and the leg, but it's like, look what the rest of the other bodies, the way that he's bending to the side. And we're talking about like different levels of strength. And we're talking about, being able to side bend and being able to move, laterally and just be able to move in all these different positions. It's an incredible thing to be able to, see there again, like if you watch his head in this movement, see where his head has to go, like, you know what I mean? His head has to go like almost like perpendicular to the ground.
Yeah.
On some of the movements that he's doing. And it's just stuff that you don't even really ever realize. But you were saying with jiu-jitsu, the articulation, the way that your hips, go like this when you walk, basically, right? They go forward and backwards, right? But your hips also have the ability to go like this and to like elongate your leg, or just kind of shorten your leg without bending your knee. Mm-hmm. And you just don't even realize you have the ability to do that. Yeah. It's like not even in your head. It's something you don't even really think about. I was thinking about this the other day. When you go to throw a punch, people are like, oh, it's all on the hips. And I'm like, that's not even really your hips necessarily. I'm sure your hips are involved. There's some like, whipping of the hips a little bit, but it's like your torso.
Rotation.
Yeah, it's rotation, right? Yeah. So you kind of, if you do some striking, you are covering a lot of ground. And I wouldn't say that you don't have to do anything else, but grappling and striking is you're going to gain a lot of awesome ability to move your body through just doing that.
I will never go to a doctor ever again about my general health. All they want to do is put you on pills.
Really well said there by Dana White. Couldn't agree with him more. A lot of us are just trying to get jacked and tan. A lot of us just want to look good, feel good. And a lot of the symptoms that we might acquire as we get older, some of the things that we might have, high cholesterol or these various things, it's amazing to have somebody looking at your blood work as you're going through the process, as you're trying to become a better athlete, somebody that knows what they're doing. They can look at your cholesterol. They can look at the various markers that you have, and they can kind of see where you're at, and they can help guide you through that.
And there's a few aspects too, where it's like, yes, I mean, no shade to doctors, but a lot of times they do want to just stick you on medication. A lot of times there is supplementation that can help with this. At Merrick Health, these patient care coordinators are going to also look at the way you're living your lifestyle, because there's a lot of things you might be doing that if you just adjust that, boom, you could be at the right levels, including working with your testosterone.
And there's so many people that I know that are looking for they're like, hey, should I do that? They're very curious. And they think that testosterone is going to all of a sudden kind of turn them into the Hulk. But that's not really what happens. It can be something that can be really great for your health because you can just basically live your life a little stronger, just like you were maybe in your 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm. And this is the last thing to keep in mind, guys. When you get your blood work done at a hospital, they're just looking at like these minimum levels. At Merrick Health, they try to bring you up to ideal levels for everything you're working with. Whereas if you go into a hospital and you have 300 nanograms per deciliter of test, you're good, bro, even though you're probably feeling like shit. At Merrick Health, they're going to try to figure out what things you can do in terms of your lifestyle. And if you're a candidate, potentially TRT. So these are things to pay attention to get you to your best self.
And what I love about it is a little bit of the back and forth that you get with the patient care coordinator. They're dissecting your blood work. It's not like you just get this email back and it's just like, hey, try these 5 things. Somebody's actually on the phone with you going over every step and what you should do. Sometimes it's supplementation, sometimes it's TRT, and sometimes it's simply just some lifestyle habit changes.
All right, guys, if you want to get your blood work checked and also get professional help from people who are going to be able to get you towards your best levels, head to merrickhealth.com and use code POWERPROJECT for 10% off any panel of your choice. We're going to go back to what Mark Bell would suggest people have in a gym, because the last thing you mentioned was the heavy bag. But, you know, I think starting jiu-jitsu when I did 10 years ago was one of the best things I ever did for my health and longevity. And it's funny because some people would be like, fighting isn't good for longevity, but it's because of what a martial art will force you to try to learn how to do with your body, right? And striking will do the same thing. It's like you have to learn how to turn your body into a whip if you want to become someone who's proficient with striking. And I don't think people need to go in and start boxing and start sparring or any of those types of things. But if you can just go somewhere where you can just learn, like, it might even sound weird, but go to a Taekwondo school. Mm-hmm. Go to and people, especially people who are into MMA will be like, karate, Taekwondo, that's not. No, it's more so though. Like, you can learn how to kick, but it'll teach you. You'll learn how to move your body in these ways, right? It doesn't mean you have to go out on the street and start being a karate guy or a Taekwondo guy or girl.
It might be intimidating to do some of that, yeah.
Yeah, but like just to learn how to, because like when they spar too, they're not sparring at 100% or doing any of that type of stuff. You have kids that are going to those classes, but what you learn with your body is something that you won't learn if you're just continuously doing CrossFit or these types of activities, right? And it's something like Allah's been doing this forever, but it's a skill that you can maintain for the rest of your life. There is a level of community there. It's not something I think you have to do multiple times a week. It could just be like this side hobby that you're building over time, or a side skill, but it can go a very long way for the way your body moves.
I love that. And if you think about, you know, for some maybe lifters out there or people that are like, you know, maybe just looking to make a change, right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things will cause the biggest change, because now what you're getting praised for is so different than what you were getting praised for before. And so as I talk about the cascade of disciplines, it's now completely different. If you're praising me because of the way I kicked the bag, because I kicked it high or just threw a good solid kick, the things that I need to do in order to keep that kick in that same place and keep that kick high don't have anything to do with me doing a max rep deadlift or very, very little to do with a max rep deadlift. So then the other things that I'm going to do to line me up so I can kick better and get better at that skill of striking is going to look a lot different than me like just powerlifting and doing all the things I've been doing for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, a couple more things I guess I would say to kind of round out, you know, having having a gym. Various things to pick up. I think I would say get some rocks. Ooh. You know, if you start to do a little bit of stone lifting of any kind, you start to recognize that the world is your gym. Yeah. You know, there's stones everywhere. You know, don't go to someone's front lawn and like steal a stone. They had to like pay for that thing, but you can literally see like pretty good sized stones occasionally, like on the side of the road, or sometimes there's like rock quarries. Sometimes there's riverbeds, you know, and you see a good sized one, just pick that thing up, chuck it in your car. Again, you can find like I have these, I think these were just left by some construction people at my house. They're just like these little like blocks, or these little like bricks, and they're probably about 20 pounds each. They're perfect for me to I walk with them for grip stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll walk with 2 of them, or if I go on a longer walk, I'll just walk with 1 of them. So yeah, some rocks and some stones and some shit like that, and throw them, like shot put them, do some, again, you can utilize it a little bit like you would utilize the med balls, but you can also, get if you have a good stone, just always make sure you're secure if you're going to go overhead, so you don't bonk yourself on the head with that. But yeah, there's just so much movement you can do with it, and then from there, I would say I don't think you need much more. You said med balls, kettlebell, a dumbbell, echo bike, heavy bag, stones. You haven't mentioned a barbell yet. Yeah, and this is just for like you just to have some like stuff,
Okay.
A barbell of some kind, some sort of thing that you could probably maybe potentially add some more weight to.
Yeah.
But when I think of a barbell, then I just think of all the other shit that comes with it, and I'm like, I don't even think you need that, because then you're going to need plates and everything else. Again, if you have if you have means to have everything, then we're just talking about like something totally different. Then I would say, your setup should look like say in Strength, which is in Sebastopol, California, which is like or Santa Rosa, California, one of the most amazing gyms I've ever been to. It's like 10,000 square feet of every amazing machine that you can think of, and every single different type of barbell that you can think of.
Wow.
They have everything you can think of for grip. They have everything you can think of for strongman. I mean, they literally have, outside of the gym, they have the thing that you throw the
strongman thing over.
The strongman bags over.
Yeah.
Oh, those bags are awesome too. I forgot to mention some of those. So yeah, if you're going to have sandbags, I'd have various sandbags. But this gym also has the stairs, like the power stairs. You ever see those?
No.
Where you pick up, maybe you can bring it up, Ryan, is the power stairs. There's a strongman movement, and you just have this like 200 or 250 pound like thing, and you pick it up and you put it on a step, and then you go to the next one.
I know what you're talking about.
They have all that shit. It's insane. Wow. They got prowlers, they got tanks. They have Watson equipment, but that's what I mean by demanding more of your gym. And if your area doesn't have it, then build it yourself. Work on making it yourself. It's like, for me, it was a dream to have a gym. I never thought I'd be able to afford anything that I have, but nevertheless, I was able to have a gym. And the way that I was able to start Super Training Gym was just by getting a couple people together and saying, hey, we all got to pay like $100 or $125 for this to like work. But I'll take the brunt of it, and if no one's paying, then I'll figure out a way to still make the rent. And we started with like 11 people, and the rent was $900 a month. So I made like, a couple $100 off of that. But I think it's that big of a deal for you to, start to accumulate stuff. And the amount of equipment that I've accumulated over time is probably, $1 million something worth of stuff. But it was over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so if you start acquiring stuff now, it's kind of like your skill set with jujitsu or some of my skill set with strength. It takes a long time to build it up. But if you start buying a little bit of stuff here and there, you have a sandbag. I'm sure everybody listening has something. They probably already have 10, 12 items that they're, just try to organize those items so that they're like in a spot where you can get to them. They're in a spot where you can utilize them. You mentioned something in the gym, which I think is awesome. And Ryan mentions something slightly different. I asked you like what you need to work out. And you're like, yeah, just probably some music. I was like, do you drink a bunch of water, or you drink something special, or you do something, and you're like, no, not really. Just good music and just start moving. And then Ryan mentioned something slightly different. Ryan just said that his workouts are a little bit, they're scheduled out, and so he might have a workout with his wife, or he might have a workout with his friend. And obviously you're working out, with your buddy with weights is different than, I think he usually goes on a run with his wife. Those are different things. And they need different preparation. And so you can think to yourself, okay, I'm going to go do that run with my wife, and I'm going to do it after work, and I'm just going straight to where we're going to run at. So I need to bring my shoes with me. So there's like a little bit of like preparation, but I think that people are missing some of that stuff in their day to day. They're missing that organization because I think that, again, sometimes when they go to train, they train so hard, they like redline, and then the next day they're not as motivated to do some of these things. They're like, oh, I forgot my shoes to run. And they're not as maybe organized as they could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, man, I think, the reason is, and I'm happy you actually brought that up, but the reason why I don't need anything to amp myself up is because I know I'm about to enjoy what I'm about to do all the time. I know I'm about to enjoy it. And I do think back to why would I have needed the pre-workout or the caffeine or just these things, because I need something artificial to bring me a level of motivation to do what I'm about to do. And nowadays I don't feel I need anything to do that other than like, just give me something good to listen to. And I'm
take it as a challenge, take it as a challenge, go ahead and do the workout, naked, do the workout cold without any caffeine or kratom or whatever it is that you think you need. Sometimes I come in here and I'll start working out, and I'm like, man, I need to put on some music. But like sometimes I just get lost in like the movement. I'm just thinking about like, oh, I want to try this exercise today. And I start trying it. And because I like to do so many different things, I think I get pumped and excited about it. But it's not easy to, get yourself fired up every single day for your workouts. But I guess what we're saying here is like, we don't think you even really need to be that fired up. Maybe when you get going, you need to be a little bit more excited because you're going to do a circuit that's like, it's going to demand a lot of you. Yeah. But to me, that's like, I really find it exciting. Recently there was a video put out with, I was with Rich Froning. He was having me do some stuff. And that guy was like, it's kind of crazy because it's like, he'll mention something. I'm like, I've never done that before. I don't know what, toes to bar, never even tried it. The like handstand push-up thing against the wall, never tried it. And so it was really, really demanding just to even do partial of the movement. But again, to me, it's like, it didn't really require like me getting like fired up or anything. It just requires that I'm about to work hard. Yeah. And I normally like the hard work. I guess I can think back like when I was doing like pro wrestling and stuff, some of those practices and stuff that we did, those were hard in a way where I'd be pretty nervous, maybe similar to jujitsu when you start. Yeah. You start getting into like, it's one thing to be like new and everyone's like, okay, you're new, so you're treated a certain way, right? But then you've been there for like 6-8 months and you're trying to like advance, and it gets to be kind of nerve wracking. Like, I kind of hope we don't do this today. I kind of hope this guy's not here. Like, you're kind of half nervous and half kind of scared about it. But I think that your training, though, it should make you a little bit nervous like that sometimes. I think that when you go to do something, not that you're going to get hurt. I think it should bring you to a capacity to where you're like, I'm not so sure if I'm going to be able to like do this the way that I'm thinking in my head, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do it.
And that's the thing. You need days like that, but not every day needs to be that.
No, not every day.
Not every day needs to be that, but you need days like that to make sure, to help you understand that you are moving forward, because sometimes you might take a challenge, whether it's lifting something or a type of cardiovascular, session that you're planning on doing. And you might go into it thinking, okay, you know what? I don't know how this is going to go. It makes you a little bit nervous. But if you end up achieving, boom, like, wow, okay, I'm making some progress here. And if you don't, and you're almost there, you understand where you are. But just understand that not every single day needs to be that. Some days can be an underhand pitch and some days can be harder.
I did really enjoy working out with Rich Froning. It was like, I don't know if I mentioned it on this show before, but he was like, all right, well, he's like, we're going to work out And then after that, I'll take you to the podcast studio. And he's going to go to the podcast studio. He's like, it's basically at my house and there's a gym there. He's like, and then we'll work out and then we'll podcast. And I was like, cool.
So you're going to work out, then go to the podcast studio, do another workout in the podcast studio, then do a podcast.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
But so then like we worked out and we got done with the workout and he's like, you want to do this? So, so then we basically did 2 workouts at first. And then we did another workout when we went to the podcast studio. Then we got done with this podcast after doing, 2.5 workouts. I was like, he goes, I have like 15 minutes and I got to go pick up my kids. I go, that's perfect. I was like, we got 10 minutes to get another workout.
And he did.
No, we didn't. But he was like, he actually was thinking about it. He's like, you're right. We could easily get something in. And then we just didn't end up doing it. But
But it's funny because I was talking to Ben Alderman yesterday and Ben was like, because when Ben does like redlining workouts for
Ben
CrossFit,
is amazing with those kind of workouts.
it's 8 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
8 to 12 minutes is all you need to
He's a
torch,
beast.
right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Rich is probably like, in 10 minutes we can do some mean shit. You know what I mean?
And if you look at the, variation of stuff that we did, and I forgot to add a sled to that mix. I'm a huge fan of sleds. So,
Yes.
add a sled onto that. But we did in this video, we're actually pushing a sled. We're doing a farmer's carry and then we're doing a bench press. It's like, that's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's great. And you think about it, like you're just getting in a lot of walking, because we're carrying some weight. I think each one of those is 100 pounds. Rich has he's got a lot of nice things set up. Things are just sort of set up, which is beautiful. So like if you have, access to some stuff, you have like a rower and some of these other things, it's kind of cool because you can just be like, I'm going to go on the rower and do 15 calories and I'm going to push a sled and then I'm going to do a farmer's carry. And you it just makes it easy when you have it set up like this. And as we talk about, if you have some of these things at your home, we understand you're not Rich Froning and you didn't win the CrossFit Games 4 times and acquire all the things that he's acquired.
Yeah.
But you could have some of these things.
Mm-hmm. And
I think you mentioned this on a previous show, like you're an athlete. Not you, but like everybody.
Yes.
We're all if you're participating in some of these things that we're talking about, you're an athlete. And then you should start to treat yourself like one. An athlete is going to have, again, obviously they have a lot of money, but they're going to have stuff that they can have easy access to so that they can get to these things almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And, I totally understand that certain people, they'll make a home gym and then that home gym will collect all the dust, right? But I think that's why having different options for the things that you can do, because sometimes certain people have things in their home gym that all of this stuff takes a level of deep preparation. If you have a barbell and a rack and dumbbells, that it's weight on weight on weight. For the barbell, if you're going to be getting ready for some deadlifts, you got to warm up. You got to there's all these things you prep yourself for, but having certain things that you can just go in, start moving around and touch. Like obviously a rope is an easy thing. A kettlebell is an easy thing. A med ball is an easy thing where you can just start throwing this thing. Just things that can just encourage more and more and more. Cause that's kind of what my workouts are. It starts easy. And then as the body's feeling better, it just stacks and stacks and it becomes harder. Some days I can just go in and lift the heavy thing, but some days I need to get my body ready for it. You know what I mean?
I love what we're talking about because if I'm to think about somebody that has 800 square feet, 600 square feet, they've got some weights in their garage type thing. They have another car parked in there. They might only have a couple hundred square feet. Having a rack and having a barbell, while that does pose some cool conveniences, it also is a major inconvenience in the sense that you can't start doing anything. Like you go into the cold ass gym in the morning or hot ass gym in the afternoon or whatever, depending on where you live or whatever. And now you got to pull the barbell out and you got to, situate it and hopefully it doesn't hit the car and you got to, slide a bunch of plates on there and stuff. And I'm not even saying any of that's hard, but it takes extra. It takes a little extra. Then you got to put the pins in the, in the rack to set it at whatever height. And then you go to test it and it's like not the right height and you got to readjust. You've got to take the 45s back off and readjust. And you're like, son of a bitch. Like by the time I get even just warmed up, look at the time, I already have to head my ass out to work.
Yeah.
And you just, didn't plan well. But if you had a different setup, you don't have to have any of that hassle. You have a couple stones, maybe you have a sled that you can drag outside. It just, I think if you have different options, it just poses you with the ability to just like get right into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's easy. And that's why I hope everybody figures out a way to set up something for their own specific practice. Because that's the coolest thing about this. It doesn't just have to be some barbells, some dumbbells, some machines. Like there's so many things that you can have that you're interested in, that you enjoy, that will make you stronger.
I like what you mentioned earlier about being part of a community. Like, I think we should talk about that a little bit more. We did talk about, there's some maybe bodybuilding friends that you have or fitness friends that you have, a Ben Alderman. You got a Ben Alderman in your back pocket or a Charlie Zamora. You can call these people up and you know that they work, or Jason Kalipa. Yeah. You know that these people work out like crazy person. So you can have those kind of redlining workouts. But not everyone has to be someone that you always see in person. There's a lot of options online. There's a lot of community stuff. And I know for myself, when I worked for EliteFTS.com years ago under the name Jackass, it was exciting, not just for me to like post my workouts and stuff like that. It was more exciting for me to read and see what some of the other guys were doing. And I got so into a lot of that stuff, I would check out what they're doing. And then I would like copy and paste something and I might write it down or something like that. And I would be like, oh, I'm going to try, this guy did, reverse hyper glute ham raises and some neck work and he supersetted it. I need more of that. So I'm going to superset that at the beginning of my workouts, just stuff like that. And when you're part of these communities, some of the friends that I made, this is like 20 something years ago. Some of the friends I made from the back side of that website were like James Smith, the thinker, along with a bunch of other people. And even like Jesse Burdick is somebody that I ended up, he's my best friend. I ended up spending a lot of time with him in person as well. But it was like through the internet, Diablo Barbell in the gym that he was at.
I didn't know that.
They posted a lot of stuff and I was like, oh, I should go up there and train. This is before I had super training, before I had a gym. And I'd go up there and I would lift with them. And then it became like very competitive. I was like, well, shit, I'm kind of right there with a lot of these guys. Jesse was a little stronger than me on the squat at the time. And so I'd go up there maybe like twice a month. It was like an hour and a half drive or something like that. And I get my ass kicked by Jesse. And I was like, I gotta figure out a way to beat this guy.
Yeah.
And it was something that was really, really motivating to me. So
that's a trek to go get your ass beat.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get my ass kicked. This is going to be great. But yeah, having that community, it's exciting. It could be a big deal and you can, there's so much you can learn.
Yeah.
The learning side of it, I think, was probably the most fun for me. I would learn a lot by reading the different workouts that people were doing, some of the different commentary. Obviously, there's always like trash talking and stuff like that too. But yeah, some of the comments and stuff, you would learn a lot from that. And then you would go the next week and you would try to apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I started the Stronger Human community. That's a community I started late last year. And we do challenges every single 2 months. And it's been really cool seeing like literally hundreds of people share and thousands of people share what they're doing on any specific day. And other people will see somebody doing some sandbag box squats. And the next day you're going to see that person say, I saw Angela do this. So I chose to do these sandbag box squats, or I saw Double R do this. And then I chose to take my sled out because this guy Double R, he has the stealth sled. So he goes out to a field and he has his maces and stuff. And then he'll take the sled around, do some kettlebell, do some, and everyone is building their own personal physical practice. And it's encouraging other people to have the confidence to build their own practice. Because I think one of the things, and it's not something I thought about until I saw a lot of people doing this, is that training and in physical training, a lot of people think that they're not smart enough to set up their own training. But no, it's actually not that difficult. You just need some things that you have, and then you need to go move them.
Yeah, should I do the mace first or the kettlebell? And you're like, well, why don't you just try and then see what feels better? And they're like, oh, I thought there had to be like a
program. And there can be. We have no problems with programs, right? But the thing is like, it really is as simple as having some things, doing some movement, taking some breaks in between when you feel you need it, and doing more movement. And seeing so many people do that is like, it brings confidence to other people to do the same thing.
There's so many times where a lot of these programs that have been around for a long time, where somebody does something slightly different and they either make it better or find out for themselves that it works better. The great Charlie Francis used to have his sprinters, he'd have them do their heavy training and their explosive stuff on the same day. And he was adamant about it. But, there's different things, like Charlie Francis is somebody that would mainly coach people in person.
Yeah.
And when you have the coach actually there and you're actually running through these squats and running through these jumps and so forth, it's probably a little bit different than if you're just trying to follow something online. You're trying to motivate yourself to do some of these things. There's so many variables, right? And then, he worked with basically professional sprinters. These other people that are just following some of these programs sometimes, they're not professional sprinters. They're just people that just want to be fast.
Yeah.
And so this guy, I saw this post the other day and people were trying to rip this guy apart. This guy was like, I do my heavy lifting, on Monday, and then I do my sprint work on Tuesday. And everyone's like, whoa.
What they have a problem with.
They're just like, oh, Charlie Francis said you had to do them on the same day. And he's like, well, this is, and he explained like, I found this way. This feels like it works better for me and so forth. And he was just sharing like, but anyway, the point being is like, it doesn't matter whose program it is. It doesn't matter if I wrote it up and Nsima wrote it up, Louis Simmons or whoever, take those programs and tweak them to whatever, like make it more convenient for yourself.
In truth, I think, again, like the backlash that guy got from mentioning what he does with sprints, it's one of those things where it's like, guys, sprinting is just moving fast for your body through space. Let's stop trying to like yes, there are ways that you can more efficiently get
your nervous
faster.
system's getting taxed. Okay, we get it.
Yeah,
right?
but at the end of the day,
you're not going to die.
It doesn't take rocket science to be able to learn how to sprint and get a little faster if you give yourself the time to learn it. It's just like jujitsu. You have yes, there's an instructor, but you do it for long enough, you're going to get the hang of it. Any type of martial art, you do it for long enough, you're going to get the hang of it. So these things, people getting mad at that guy, it's just setting up this artificial barrier to not do something because it's not set up in this special way. It's like, no, you just go do it.
Is there anything in particular that you do if you don't want to work out? Or do you even have days where you're just like, I don't feel like working out at all?
There are days where I don't have the energy to do something super heavy, but on those days I'll just be able to work with lighter stuff. And usually all I need is to warm the body up, and then I can work with something relatively heavy for what I have on that day.
And are you able to do that easier because you don't really have anything written out?
No, I don't think that's the case. The thing is with the way I have to train, there's a lot of auto regulation because of the stresses from the martial art. If I didn't have jujitsu, every day would be able to be a standard understood progression. But because jujitsu's in the mix, there's some days where I'll go roll, I'll come back, okay, I'll do something light, but the next day I'll still be feeling the remnants of the day before. So I'll have to adjust the types of loads I work with because my body's just not fully ready to really push something heavier on a specific day, right? So that's why I can manage to do something every day, but I just have to listen to my body because jujitsu is a different type of stress.
And it's not motivating if you don't feel great. If you feel stiff and you feel all this, that's why I said it in the beginning, those 7s are important, a 7 out of 10 rather than trying to do a 10 out of 10, because you're going to feel kind of worn out. You're going to feel kind of tired and beat up. But I think another motivating thing is having the ability to call that audible, because you know that if you don't feel good, you can just do something slightly different. Mm-hmm. You're not copping out. You're not being a big pussy or anything like that. It's nothing to really be overly concerned with. But look, if you go to pick up, 100 or 150 pound sandbag and it feels like your head's going to blow off your shoulders and you're like, man, I don't know what's wrong, but that feels 10 times harder than normal.
Yeah.
That's okay to listen to that listen to your body in that particular instance and say, I either need to like warm up and try that again, or I need to just do something completely different. And for me, the completely different thing that I would do in that situation is just go pull the sled. You could be half dead and pull the sled.
Easy.
That's kind of great.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening in. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.